Hello. Unfortunately, the news again has reported that dog theft is on the increase, and we keep seeing this month after month, year after year now. It's a terrible, terrible thing. I can't imagine the anguish I would feel if somebody stole my dog, wondering what would happen to it, where's it going to end up, will I ever see it again? It must be awful. And so I came up with a few things that I certainly consider and you might want to consider to help keep you and your dog safe and to make it less easy to be stolen. I've written them down, so I'm just going to go through the ones as they came into my head. Some of them may be things that you've already tried, some of them may be things that you haven't and you might want to give a go. Anyway, so the first one I wrote down was don't leave your dog tied up outside a shop. Many people do this and they think, well, I'll just be in and out, I'll only be a couple of minutes. But think how long it takes you to tie the dog there. It'll take even less time probably for somebody to untie it because they're going to be in a hurry. And in just those few seconds, your dog can be gone. And believe me, you're going to wish afterwards that you hadn't done it. So please just don't do it. Either take the dog back home with you and go back to the shop, or take the dog in with you if it's a shop that will allow you to take the dog in. But those few seconds can be extremely costly, so please just don't do it. Often dog thieves will be following you. They may be following you home from the park or from where you've been, and they're hoping that you'll stop somewhere. And in those few minutes that you're gone, it can be very, very costly. So please don't do it. Number two, don't leave your dog unsupervised in a car, and you may want to consider tinting the windows. If you leave the dog in the car, obviously it's an open invitation to criminals. They can see the dog, they can see that you're not there. It only takes them a second to break the window and whip your dog out and it's gone. And obviously we have to consider dogs in warm or hot weather anyway, and dogs, really do die in hot cars. And remember, they're wearing a fur coat and aren't as good at regulating their body temperature as us, so we really shouldn't be leaving them unsupervised in cars anyway. But just bear in mind, it does make it an obvious target for dog thieves. Tinting the windows will make it less easy for them to see your dog, so you can go to a professional company and get them tinted properly so that it's much harder for people to see inside and see the dog. Don't give strangers details about your dog. When random people come up to you and go, oh, what a lovely little dog, how old is it? Oh, did you get him neutered? Oh, what's his name? And all that sort of thing. It may be completely innocent, but there may be reasons why they're asking you those things. So think very carefully about whether or not you're going to give strangers details that may be very useful to them when it comes to stealing your dog. Obviously, they want to lure your dog to the fence and they already know your dog's name. Maybe they've already met it that day in the park. The dog's much more likely to approach the fence when they call it, and the next thing they grab the dog over the fence and they're gone. So please think very carefully about giving any details about you or your dog to some random stranger. Avoid putting details about where you regularly walk your dog on social media. I see people do this a lot. They put up pictures of their dog walking in a particular place. They put the name of the place and then how much they love going there. And it's just an open invitation to a thief. It says, I'm probably going to be here again tomorrow. And the next thing you know is they're there already waiting for you. So, please don't put up places where you regularly walk the dog. If it's a one-off, you're going on holiday and you put up pictures, that's fine. But if it's the place where you walk your dog on a very regular basis, it's probably not a good idea to put it on social media. When you get back to the car, so you've walked your dog around the park, have a quick scan around and have a look at the cars and the vehicles that are in the park. And then when you get into your car and you start to drive away, just have a look and see if any of those cars pull out behind you. Often what's happened is they've watched you from the car park, they see you get back into the car, they follow you home and they now know where you live. So if you make a note of them, check and see if any of them are following you on your way out. And if they are, either do a bit of a divert just to make sure they are, and if they still are, do a bigger divert and head straight to your local police station and pull over in there, and chances are they'll keep driving. Keep your dog in sight if you're in an area that's got lots of overgrowth. Some of you may have seen that news bulletin a few months ago with some dog thieves, and they said one of the most easy ways for them to steal dogs is they lurk in the bushes, they wait for you to walk past. As you do walk past, they call the dog, and because so many of you, I should say, encourage your dogs to go up to strangers, they call the dog, they offer it a bit of food, it goes into the undergrowth to get the food, they grab it, and by the time you even realise the dog's been missing for a while, they're already out the other side of the bushes and long gone. So if it's a place where there's lots of places where people could hide, then keep the dog in sight until you're in a place where you feel much safer. Discourage your dog from taking food from strangers. We say this to our children all the time because we know it keeps them safe. Don't take sweets from strangers. But with our dogs, we actively encourage strangers to keep giving them food. And again, it makes them very easy to be lured away by food because you've taught your dog that it's okay to trust random strangers who offer it food. So my advice is never encourage your dog to take food from strangers, and never encourage strangers to feed your dog. You really want your dog to be ambivalent to people that you don't know. We do this with our children. We encourage our children to be social with the people that we want them to, and to regard everyone else as a stranger. That doesn't stop them being social, they just learn who to be social with. And I think we should be doing the same with our dogs. I encourage my dog to be friendly with the people I want him to interact with, and I want him to see everyone else as a stranger and not somebody that he should want to interact with. Also on the same vein, discourage strangers from stroking your dog. When I take my dog for a walk and random people come up and ask if they can stroke him, I explain that they can't. I think we need a whole kind of cultural change in this. Instead, we see dogs as public property. Providing I ask you, I should be allowed to stroke your dog. And I think, no, this is not okay. It just makes my dog much more vulnerable. So if any of you see me walking my dog, ideally don't come over and ask me if you can stroke it, but if you do, the answer is going to be no, because you're a stranger. So I'll say that my dog is in training, or I'll say that I don't want him to be friendly with strangers, but the answer will be no. And I think we should all be working hard to protect our dogs and make them less vulnerable. So the only people that should be stroking it are people that you trust to be safe around it, and you want it to see everyone else as just a stranger. You might want to consider investing in some sort of tracking device, ideally one that's small enough that you can hide it either in or on the dog's collar where it's not so obvious, so that if somebody does grab your dog, at least hopefully it'll be a while before they find the tracker, and that may give you time to trace the dog and get the dog back. So something that you can easily hide is much better than something that they can see and just immediately take off and throw in a bin. Be careful on sites that invite you to let strangers walk your dog. I know there are more and more of these sites turning up now where if you're really busy, you can log onto this site and have some stranger take your dog for a walk. Obviously, it's very easy for them to come back and go, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I don't know what happened. Somebody ran off with him," when in fact they may have arranged that, and it may be some plot just to be able to get your dog away from you. So, I mean, I think this is a terrible idea anyway, letting strangers walk your dog. You're also liable for anything that happens when the dog is out with the stranger. So I just think it's such a bad idea. But certainly from a criminal's point of view, it may be a very good idea, because lots of people are going to give their dogs to complete strangers. Carry some sort of alarm with you, something very loud, that if you're a bit nervous or you're not sure, you can warn the person or just set it off, and that way everybody's going to look around to see what's going on. So one of those rape alarms or something very loud and strident, and as soon as you're not sure, let the thing off. Far better that it's a mistake and the person leaves than something terrible happens. And the last one I've got is please don't put a sign in your window that tells everyone that you have a dog and what sort of dog. So we often put a sign in the window that says, caution, I live here, or dogs running free, and we put a picture of the dog so people know it's a Labrador or a German Shepherd. It really just says to criminals, if you're looking for a Labrador or a German Shepherd or a Cocker Spaniel or whatever it is, there's one that lives here. And so it's an open invitation to let people know that they should probably come and try and steal your dog. So please don't put a sign in the window. It doesn't really protect you in law anyway. It doesn't mean that you're any safer because you put a sign up, but what it does do is potentially make you much more vulnerable. So I hope that's given you some tips and things that may help to keep your dog safe. If you like the video, please click like, and if you want to hear future videos, then please click subscribe. Have a good day, and I hope you enjoy your day. Take care.